Well, thank you everybody for joining. This is our monthly innovation ecosystem call. Lots of organizations that support innovators and entrepreneurs from around the region here in Florida all get together once a month to just talk about resources that are available for entrepreneurs that you might support, and even for your organization as well. So just a quick icebreaker to get us started, and we're going to mix it up a little bit this month. Instead of books and podcasts that we've been sharing, just tell us in the chat where in Florida you're located. And for a fun question, would you rather be able to fly or to read minds? I'll give everybody a couple minutes while we get going here. We'll start with that. Lots of good stuff in the chat.
Thank you.
Realize I can't see the chat and my slides at the same time. Now I think I got it. All right. So we've got lots of folks in Orlando, Tampa representing, Fort Lauderdale, Philly, Fort Myers, Seminole State College and Sanford. So welcome everybody. Awesome. And then lots of people want to fly. A couple of mind readers, Eric Ushkowitz, that'd be nice to be able to read minds for sure. It looks like most everybody wants to fly. All right. Well, we will get going here. So our agenda for today, just want to welcome everybody. We're going to share some updates on the Florida FAST program, and some items we wanted to get out there today. We've got guest speaker today, Logue, director of the UCF Business Incubation Program and Innovation Districts, and also founder of Central Florida Tech Grove on the call. She's going to share a little bit with us and some exciting things they've got going on. Then we'll go through some resources and announcements, share a little bit about the SBIR STTR solicitation schedule, and then open it up at the end for questions, comments, discussion. And during that time, we really want to give a chance for anybody in the ecosystem to share programs you might have opening up, or needs you have, or things that you just want to share with the group so we all know about them. So we'll do that. A little bit about Florida FAST. So FAST stands for Federal and State Technology Partnership. This is a program funded by the Small Business Administration, and this call is part of the outreach that we do for Florida FAST. Some of what you can expect from this call, really a chance to learn from guest speakers around the innovation ecosystem or from the federal government. Everybody on the call will get recordings and follow-up materials if you're RSVP'd. So even if you miss one, don't worry, you'll always get a recap. You'll learn about ways to collaborate with the corridor, access some SBIR STTR support resources. So if you're not familiar with that program or you're new to the call, this will be a chance to learn about how your entrepreneurs can access that $4 billion federal program that's meant for small businesses. And then we'll also help identify new funding opportunities for entrepreneur support organizations as those come out, and just connect with other like-minded people in the ecosystem across Florida. So I'm going to take a moment now and just turn it over to a friend and fellow co-conspirator here in the innovation ecosystem, Logue, for her. And I think some of members of her team are here on the call today to share some of what they have going on at UCF and the Tech Grove.
Thank you, Amy. Right, let's see. Let me bring up our presentation. Here we go. All right, you could confirm you're seeing the slide in presentation mode. Thank you very much. As long as we all been doing this, I still check. You never know. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Amy and Jack, for inviting me to join you today in my other role here at UCF. Many of you I do know and have had the pleasure to work with in my role as a director of the UCF Business Incubation Program. And but what I'm delighted to have you chance to tell you about today is a very unique Department of Defense funded innovation center here in Orlando, anchored at the University of Central Florida. But before I go into Tech Grove specifically, I want to just take a few minutes to create the context and perhaps share with some of you what you may not quite be aware of, which is Team Orlando. If you're not aware of it, Central Florida for decades, and specifically the Central Florida Research Park and the area around UCF, has been and is the epicenter of modeling, training, simulation, acquisition, means buying stuff, contracting and buying, for our Department of Defense training and simulation products and services. And we put all that under an umbrella we call human performance, because it is, at the end of the day, about equipping our men and women in the military to be able to perform at the very top of their ability in whatever role they're serving. That doesn't mean it's just out on the battlefield or in the air flying a plane or on the sea or under the sea in a ship or submarine. It is about everything. It's maintenance, it's operations, it's business processes, everything. So when we talk human performance and training and supporting our DoD service members in preparing them, it is all across the spectrum. So Team Orlando, very quickly, has existed since literally right after World War II, when the early days of simulation and training for the military really got their earliest start, some of their early starts, and anchored here in Central Florida. And Snack, as a former commanding officer of the Naval Air Warfare Training System divisions here, is very familiar, and he's told this story more times than I ever will, but the memorandum of agreement between the Army and the Navy in here, Central Florida, that established the cornerstone of Team Orlando, is the longest running agreement between services in the Department of Defense. We'll explain, obviously I'm going to talk about Tech Grove here in a minute. I'm not going to get into Naval X Tech Bridge particularly, other than I'll just say that that is a really wonderful network of entities across the Department of the Navy, anchored at various naval installations, that was developed to bridge inside the Navy to share solutions and best practices across the Navy, but also to bridge outside to the community of innovators and companies. So Team Orlando. Don't feel bad if you don't know what all those logos are. That's quite all right. I have to stop and think too sometimes. But the point here is that the four services, Army, PEO STRI, Marine Corps, Training Systems Division, Navy, Naval Air Warfare Center Training Systems Division, and Air Force Agency for Modeling and Simulation, all anchor what is called Team Orlando. And what's unique about this is that these four services come together and have collaborated for decades by choice, not because anybody told them they had to. Over the years, other agencies, other parts of DoD have put people on the ground here as well to be part of this extraordinary collaboration. Other agencies, Department of Homeland Security, Veterans Administration, Space Force is now here as well as part of Orlando. And then other supporting entities such as Florida High Tech Quarter, as you can see, Orlando Economic Partnership, others that help support the Department of Defense and Innovation and bringing companies into this space. We like to show this slide because one thing that enables this cluster and this community and this collaboration is the fact that this picture that you see, which is the Central Florida Research Park, and the buildings that you see, this is where we're all located, including Tech Bridge and Tech Grove. We really truly live together. The partnership buildings you see were funded by the state of Florida through allocations to UCF to purchase, build, renovate buildings to house military, and in many cases UCF working side by side with the DoD services in simulation and training. So when we talk cluster, when we talk community, when we talk innovation district, it's real. It's not just words, because we all live and work and play together sometimes. Industry associations, academia, government, and all sorts of other organizations that are in the space. I won't go through all of these events. I put this here to reinforce the point that a unique aspect of Team Orlando is the industry engagement. Nowhere else will you go in the country and find the cadence, the frequency, and the extent of the way federal government entities engage with industry in a very transparent way to enable industry, the companies you're all working with, that we're all working with through incubators, accelerators, economic development programs, entrepreneurial support programs, enable those companies to engage with the federal government, in this case DoD, and hear about the priorities, the needs, the funding opportunities to meet not only the government, but meet and network, connect with a lot of other companies that are in the space, which, as we know, is often where the real collaboration and innovation takes place. And I will share these slides with Amy, so she'll send them out obviously afterwards, and would welcome the opportunity to talk with any of you afterwards about anything to do with Team Orlando, industry engagement, and particularly Tech Grove. So let's move right on into Tech Grove. Since we all work with SBIR and STTR, I would guess that pretty much most of you on this call have heard of some other Department of Defense innovation entities. I think we're all pretty familiar with SoftWorks, since it's right here in Florida, AFWorks, DefenseWorks, CyberWorks, StrikeWorks, DIU, on and on and on. There are dozens of Department of Defense funded innovation entities. We fall in that community, and we're all charged with doing some similar things, and that is to help support speeding up acquisition of innovation and the creation of innovative solutions for the DoD, and exposing our Department of Defense to innovations that are out there beyond the traditional defense industry. That's what we do at Tech Grove, and I'll talk a little bit more specifically about our missions here in a minute. But what is truly unique among all the dozens and dozens of DoD innovation units across the world, and certainly in the US, what is truly unique about Tech Grove is all those logos along the bottom. There is no other defense entity that is multi-service funded. And this goes back to, it builds on the extraordinary long collaboration embodied by Team Orlando, because when Tech Grove was envisioned and created, it was just natural that while the agreement with the University of Central Florida Research Foundation was executed by the Navy here, because they're a federal lab, so they had the authority to execute what's called a partnership intermediary agreement. But from day one, we were funded by the Navy, Army, Air Force, and Marine Corps. In the past 12 months, those four have been joined by Space Force, by Army Futures Command Synthetic Training Environment, which is here in Orlando, by a laboratory R&D center that's part of the Army, the Synthetic Simulation and Training Technology Center, excuse me, and then the Central Florida Tech Bridge, which is funded by the Office of Naval Research. So we actually have 8 customers that we support at Tech Grove, and it's all those logos along the bottom. We have been contacted by and are having conversations with other federal agencies, as well as other parts of Department of Defense, that are very interested in joining us, becoming funding members of Tech Grove and taking advantage of all that we're doing. So we expect that list of logos to grow. This is where we focus. Going back to my earlier comments about human performance, training and simulation, readiness, those pillars that you see, artificial intelligence and human machine interaction, extended reality, VR, AR, mixed reality, LVC, live virtual constructive synthetic training environment. It's okay, those phrases don't mean a lot to folks that don't live and breathe in this world, but what I really, 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 really want you to look at and pay attention to is that section along the bottom. Because if you are working with companies, and you all are, since you're all supporting companies in SBIR and STTR activities, any of those companies that are working in any of these areas that you see along the bottom, we would love for them to be part of our community, because odds are really, really high that whatever they're doing has applicability to the customers that we serve through the Central Florida Tech Growth. There are other capabilities in areas of technology and innovation that apply as well, but these are certainly some of the primary ones. So I hope that you'll think through your company community and these areas and help us spread the word, particularly across Florida, about opportunities and ways to engage with us. I mentioned that, like all the Defense Innovation Center, we all have some common missions, and these are our three guiding stars, I guess, if you will. One is first and foremost to grow the defense industry base. You are all working with companies that are doing amazing innovation, creating products and services for industries across the board. Some of them are doing DoD, SBR, and STTR. Maybe some of them have done some other transactions or had some other opportunities with DoD. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they've never even thought about doing business with Department of Defense, because let's just be honest, it's really hard. It's really frustrating. We know that. But the opportunities with the proper guidance that all of us are here to provide, as well as other organizations, can help them take advantage of the extraordinary opportunities that exist to really have an impact and make a difference. So we want those companies. That is part of how we're measured. Are we bringing companies in to our activities, our events, our initiatives, our prize challenges, our game jams, everything that we're doing, companies that are not doing business with DoD, and giving them a chance to learn about those opportunities. Technology transfer. To most of us, that means licensing some intellectual property. That means that to us too, but it also means other forms of transferring technology. It might be knowledge sharing. It might be an opportunity to enter into a cooperative research and development agreement, which is a fairly quick, easy instrument to execute. It's not a competitive process. No money changes hands, but the company comes to the table with their assets and resources and innovation. The Navy, the Space Force, the Army, whoever it is, they come to the table. Maybe they have equipment, maybe they have access to labs, they have data, they have experts. They come together under this arrangement and over a period of time, work together to prove the feasibility of an idea that collectively they have that may address a problem, a need, or fill a gap that the DoD entity has. And then it solving problems, finding solutions to needs, capability gaps that our customers have. That's a big part of what we do as well. And I'll give you a few examples of that in a minute. So industry, academia, entrepreneurs, even other government entities are who we are reaching out to touch across the country. We are not just Central Florida bound. We're not just Florida bound. We truly have a national mission field, if you will, and even international to some degree. And we see that more and more in the attendance at virtually, particularly at our events, and even people that come to Orlando and walk in the door of Tech Growth. There are a lot of opportunities to engage with us, with our customers, with our community of industry and academia and entrepreneurs. Except for one event on this list, everything else is hybrid. The only one that's not is the Grafting at the Grove, because that is intended to be for networking and finding relationships and building those relationships. But everything else is either completely virtual or it's hybrids. So there are plenty of ways and plenty of opportunities every week, every month, certainly, to participate in some of the events that we're doing and begin to get familiar with this community and this world and hear about opportunities and hear about technologies and hear about problems and what some priorities are for our customers. You may have noticed the SBIR STTR Partnership Day on that list. We started this in 2021. This will be our third one to do. And this is an event where we ask our government customers, our DoD funders, for phase 2 and phase 3 awardees from the last 2 or 3 years. We get the names of those companies. We extend an invitation for them to join us for a day-long event and showcase their SBIR, STTR innovation and their company to our audience of 300 to 400 representatives of government, capital organizations, large prime contractors that are always looking for small businesses to collaborate with, other small businesses. Our SBIR Partnership Day this year will be, it's May, I believe, May 25th, if I remember correctly. But that's another opportunity for companies that you are working with to either come or dial in virtually and hear how other companies that are achieving success in this program, how they're messaging, how they're talking about their company, how they're talking about the solution that they have to a problem in this space. It's a great way to learn about some of the needs and the problems too that DoD is dealing with. This slide, this was from one last week, but I show you this just to give you an idea of the topics of some of the events that we do. The mixology is a quarterly event. We have on stage a representative of industry, a representative of academia, and then 2 to 3 or 4 representatives from the federal government. And these are all really brilliant subject matter experts in whatever the topic is. That one's said AI and ethics. We have, I think the next one we're going to do is around an area that is probably the top of the list for every one of our customers, and that's interoperability, because as we move more and more toward truly synthetic training environments where you are integrating a vast variety of sources of data and graphics, and some of it's live, some of it's virtual, all different forms. Those sources usually don't talk to each other. So solving that problem to achieve the end goal ultimately is absolutely foundational to our customers. And there are multiple ways that we're helping address that. Space Force, our Juice Bar is a monthly event. We actually did this event live from Groundswell Startup down in Melbourne, what week or so, a couple of weeks ago, because the Space Force unit that we work with is the innovation team called The Forge that's at Patrick Space Force Base. So we had them live at Groundswell, had the robot running around Groundswell. We had people in person in Tech Grove, and then we had people online too. Getting to know the program managers. This is a new series we've kicked off this year where we're bringing in the person actually responsible for specific programs across all of our customers, and just having an opportunity for companies, faculty to sit and hear what all do they cover in their program? How do they intersect with other programs? What are their priorities? What are their needs? It's a much different type of conversation than typically happens at some of the other events. And then the Tech Connect is a Tech Grove Connect is a totally virtual webinar that we do highlighting best papers and tutorials from the most recent ITSIC, which happens every November, January here in Orange County. It's the world's largest simulation and training event in the world. Truly international, with government, industry, and academia from all over the world at the Orange County Convention Center. We're not that old. This is our 3rd year of operation. So our 2nd year of operation, we were pretty busy, and this year is just accelerating. So we are doing a lot of events, a lot of initiatives, a lot of activities, and we have a lot of traffic, and we would welcome you to help us increase that. You probably see a few familiar logos on there, but we love to show this slide because we need you to help us get the word out. We are here to be an asset and a resource for the companies that you work with, for your organization. If there are opportunities for us to come talk about Tech Grove and engage with companies that you're working with, we'd love to join you and do that. Or if there's something that an event you're doing, program you're doing where we could add value, we could bring in some of our government customers, anything that we could do with you to help spread the word about opportunities in this space and make it a little bit easier for and less intimidating for companies to engage. We would love to be able to do that. I hope that you will join our community, get on our email list. The emails you would get would be about our events, about opportunities that we're putting out for companies. We have pretty active social media, and that's about to get more active now that Brooke's on board and can devote more time and attention to it than we do. So the last thing I'd like to share with you is, I'm going to stop that sharing, and I am going to go to our LinkedIn page because I mentioned interoperability being a really critical problem. And it is such a problem that Office of Naval Research and the Navy Center here have funded us to run a prize challenge to try to find a solution to one of the really, really fundamental building blocks here. So this prize challenge went live yesterday. This is our LinkedIn page. I would hope that if you don't mind, if you would go there, go to the prize challenge page, take a look at it. And if you have companies that may be interested in knowing about this and considering participating, we have an information session that we'll be doing on April 3rd. They could register for, and we would love to have them come join us and participate. So Amy, I will stop there and take any questions or comments.
Thanks, Carol Ann. Great presentation as always. Team on the call, if you have questions for Carol Ann, we've got a couple minutes, so feel free to put them in the chat, or if you'd like to raise your hand or unmute, we can take a couple questions that way. Don't see any in the chat, but I see Ian has put a lot of the resources that Carol Ann was talking about as we've been going here. So make sure you catch up with those links, and we'll share the presentation that Carol Ann presented in our follow-up notes. And if you have questions, please reach out to her and get your companies connected with these resources.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Appreciate it. All right. Well, we will.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We'll keep the call going here. I'm going to share again and just share some updates. I realized on the beginning of the call here, I didn't actually say hello, and there are some folks on the call who I haven't met. So if you have never seen me before, because I normally don't run this call, I'm Dr. Amy Beard with the Florida High Tech Corridor, Chief Strategy Officer, filling in today for Jack Hinkle on our team, who normally does this call and is on vacation. So just wanted to throw that out there if we haven't met before. So just to share a little bit, and I think I have the lovely apps open that we were looking at for music here. So let me see if I can make that go away. All right. So what is Florida FAST, and what's the point? FAST, it stands for Federal and State Technology Partnership. This is really a statewide centralized network to help get entrepreneurs access to the federal SBIR and STTR funding resources that are available. It's about $4 billion a year, a great program for R&D and innovation focused companies to really hire their first technical staff, do some proof of concept, prototype development. And so that's the point of this call, is to really start fostering some engagement with the entrepreneurial ecosystem to learn more about this and get entrepreneurs funded. There are 3 ways we do that. One is outreach. So this call is part of that outreach, but we also do some trainings that I'll talk about. We offer technical assistance to companies that want to apply for SBIR and STTR. So if you have companies that are looking at applying, it can be a daunting process, and we're here to help with that. And then the last piece is financial support. We do have a matching grants program for university industry collaborations that happens at USF and UCF. So if you have a company that's looking for a research partnership, we have some funding available to help foster those kinds of partnerships at those 2 universities. In terms of our technical assistance that we offer, there's a couple of opportunities coming up. One is for a train the trainer, and this is where anybody on this call, innovation ecosystem builders, can get some professional training for free through BBC, our partner on this. And you can send your coaches or your staff or your mentors, anybody who interfaces with companies and wants to know more about the SBIR STTR program. It's going to be on August 23rd at 1 o'clock. It's a virtual program. So we'll put the link in the chat for how to get your staff or your team registered for that. Some of the goals are just really to understand more about what the program is and how to understand if the companies you work with would be a good fit for the program, and give some support to your entrepreneurs for navigating the process. Other technical assistance that we have coming up, and these are meant more directly for the companies themselves. We have a virtual training series. The first one kicked off on March 9th, and that was the ABCs of SBIR and STTR. We do have the recording available if you weren't able to make it or have entrepreneurs that are interested in learning more. That resource is available, and we'll share that as well. But a couple more trainings coming up. There's one on May 9th for helping companies develop their commercialization plans. And these trainings with BBC, they're about an hour and a half. They're very digestible. They're very tactical. So really great resource to help a large number of companies get familiar and learn the process quickly. And then June 14th, we're going to focus on developing a budget. Sometimes federal budgets can be a little bit overwhelming or intimidating for entrepreneurs who maybe haven't had to write a formal budget before. There's some ins and outs that they need to know, and it'll cover all of that. And then on September 14th, we'll repeat the ABCs of SBIR, STTR, and that's really an introductory, if you have entrepreneurs that have never heard of it, they're just trying to understand if they're eligible, how to access it, how to figure out how their company might align with the program. That's a good one to take advantage of. So again, I think, and I can't see it on my screen, but Ian is dropping links in the chat for those, and we'll share those and follow up as well. And then finally, in our technical assistance, later in the year, we will have some more hands-on opportunities with agency-specific cohorts. So the first one will be for companies that want to apply specifically for the National Science Foundation SBIR program. We're going to work with 8 companies in these cohorts. As they develop out their application, they'll get more one-on-one hands-on support. So if you have entrepreneurs that once they've taken the trainings and they're ready to apply and want to take that next step, it'll be a way to really engage them and help them advance in the process. So this is just a summary of everything I talked about. Again, we'll share all these links afterward. And a couple of announcements. One, I just wanted to cover, there are currently solicitations that are open for entrepreneurs right now. One is from NOAA, let's see, I'll get it wrong. NOAA focuses on, weather and environmental aspects. So if you have companies that are working in that area, something to pass along. And then the USDA's program for phase 2 is open right now. So that's more ag tech focus companies. And then the Department of Health and Human Services also has a number of solicitations open if you have healthcare or life sciences focused companies companies. So you can go to sbir.gov and look under open solicitations right now for any of those, and they vary throughout the year. Couple other announcements, great conference coming up for the SBIR STTR Innovation Conference. You may know it as Tech Connect. And from the SBA, we have a 25% off code. If you want to go, it's a great way to connect with program managers and federal agencies that have innovation needs. But then there's also an opportunity for companies to showcase and exhibit. They have innovation awards. So take advantage of that if it's something you're interested in. It's in DC, in National Harbor area, and it's always a great opportunity to learn more and make connections. And then here in Florida, coming up August 2nd and 3rd is the SBDC's Small Business Success Summit in Fort Lauderdale. And make sure you're registered for that as well if you're focused on helping support small businesses. Our next call will be on April 18th at 1 o'clock. So if you know other innovation ecosystem builders that would benefit from this call and you want to get them involved, please invite them. And next, I'm just going to open the floor to everybody who's here on the call today. If your program or you have resources that you want to share, any upcoming trainings or accelerator programs or anything like that, events that you're hosting, any SBIR, STTR trainings, please either unmute, raise your hand, or put those in the chat, and we'll do some sharing here as a team.
Hello, Amy. This is Joe Simmons. I have a cohort starting on May 8th, and I'll drop the Eventbrite link into the chat if I can.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe. So for anybody on the call, Joe is with the, I'm going to get it right, Center for Micro Entrepreneurial Training. Is that right?
All right, Amy.
Awesome. Focuses on underserved entrepreneurs and a great program. How long is the cohort, Joe?
It is, Amy, 5 days, and it's 8 hours. So it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then a Monday, Wednesday with a graduation, a pitch contest on that last Wednesday. And again, I owe you lunch or breakfast because you're one of the few people that can go the whole name and not use the acronym CMET. So thank you, Amy.
I try. You know, we've been in the DoD world a lot today, and there's a lot of acronyms there. So try to spell them out. Anybody else on the call want to share? Or does anybody have questions from anything that we covered today or talked about? All right, this is a quiet group. There will be lots of links and follow up from the meetings. One thing I'll throw out there, and we'll end a little early today. I won't keep everybody till 2. For these calls, we are looking for presenters for future months. So if you want to come on and share your program, you know, teach us and tell us a little bit about what you do and how you do it. Just help us all get more familiar with the different resources that are here in the innovation community. Please reach out to me or Jack. And then also, if you have feedback on the call, things that would be helpful to you, things you're looking for on this call, ways that you want to connect with the ecosystem, please let us know that too. We're always open to feedback and excited to hear from you all. So if nobody else has anything, we will wrap up the call for today. Appreciate everyone for joining and have a great week.
Thanks, Amy.
Bye, everyone.